Okay, I waited a couple weeks, did a lot of testing, and now I want to dig into the stats revamp. DCUO has stated that the revamp was to change all numbers, and it was basically give the game balance and to help build progression and for them to build new systems and power sets in the future. As someone who's been playing since the beta, I was very happy when I learned that they were going to go to stats, as the AMs were a little out of control. Even though I prefer DPSing as the AMs, I just knew they had to bring the numbers way down as they were starting to get out of control. Seen a lot of people complain this week about feeling weaker or them not hitting as hard as they're used to, and that's perfectly fine. That's as intended, based on the fact is before with the AMs, the numbers being so high, you could just burn through everything real quick and you didn't have to face the mechanics that are prevalent in the early part of DCUO or in other MMOs. So they had to bring the numbers way down, but if you had high skill points and you had high numbers, you still got high numbers and you're still equal to everyone who was either higher or lower than you was. It's just they had to rebalance the numbers from the beginning on through, so it was balanced no matter what level you were. If you're in tier 1 or you're at end game, it was balanced, so you get the slowly progression and get to go through the mechanics and learn the game as it was intended. Now, for those of you who doesn't follow the forums, didn't get on test, or doesn't play with a group of people who follow the game, a lot of people are calling this skill points matter, but it's actually stats matter, and your gear is 50% of your character's makeup. That's where you get like a majority of your stats, and then 25% is going to be your mods, your generator mods, your equipment mods. That makes up 25% of your overall effectiveness, and then the last 25% will be your skill points. So basically, if you have no skill points at all, you're starting to get 75% effectiveness. Now, someone who has 200 skill points to 300 skill points, you think, oh, he's got 100 more skill points. It's not as big as drastic as you think, based off of you have the armor, you can mod your gear, and 200 to 300 skill points is very, very marginal when it comes to like a stat for like DPSing or healing. You're only going to be a little bit behind if you guys are both max. So the damage or the healing or whatever will be close. So it brings better balance, and that's one thing the revamp was about. Another thing that's really cool about the revamp is that you can pick which way for the first time you want to engage in battle. You can do weapon-based attacks. You can do hybrid power and weapons, or you can just flat out play from the tray, which I became a fan of with the AM, so I'm really glad that stayed in the game. And I started testing when they first came out and testing. I didn't think they would come close to being able to balance it, and kind of walked away after like the third test, like, oh, it's going to be a while, guys. And when a friend told me, oh man, it's ready to come out, I was like, no way. Went on the forum, started reading, and people was like, oh man, they did a really good job. And then I've been testing the revamp out ever since, and really shocked, but I'm really enjoying it, and I think they did a really good job. If you're committed to your tunes, you're gonna be all right. I see a lot of people on the forum struggling. I went back and tested old content at different skill point things, different combat ratings. I don't really understand what they're complaining about, that it's really hard. Some people say yesterday in the end game content and the alerts, they were saying that yesterday it took 15 minutes. Now my group's not finishing, or it took 2 hours to get to the new alert. I just came back to the game and I had nothing in this DLC. It's been out for I think a month and a half now, and I had no problem getting through it, and I just LFG'd the group. So I'm not really sure. They might be modded wrong. I did extensive testing on my characters to find out which loadouts I wanted to use. So I don't know, maybe they don't have any friends they can like bounce ideas off of, or they're trying to run an old loadout that might not quite be as effective, but it's very doable. The contact, I'm flying through it, and like I said, I don't even have the gear. That's 50% of it. So other than that, I really don't see a lot of the issues. But we're gonna discuss more of the issues with some of the comments, and we're gonna pull some of the forums and some of the Facebook and other things people were saying, because we went and tested a lot of it just to see, maybe there was some point to it, you know, like maybe there needs to be some fixes, but we couldn't really find anything, so we'll let you guys decide for yourselves. So he says skill points are not useful and that he doesn't believe anyone's going to farm them. I would say I would almost agree, other than the fact I've been playing since the beta, and even when skill points wasn't really useful, like the AM area or other times during the game, people still did it. It's like a trophy. It's like a progression for your character. People always go after skill points, no matter if they're really effective or they're not. So we're gonna have to disagree on this one. I mean, skill points matter now, so people will be going after them. If you don't I mean, it shows like the people's like, oh, I don't have time to go get skill points, but the people who do have time to go get skill points, the people who do work for it, when you put it into a group, like I have 300 skill points, it lets people know you're committed to the game, you like the game. If you come in like, oh, I don't care about skill points, then, you know, people say I'm not going to be able to get into groups, but if you work on your skill points and you do that, you'll be able to get into groups. It'll be fine. If you don't really want to play because you're like, oh, I'm not going to put in the time and the effort, then, you know, I mean, that falls on you. But for the most people, I think the majority of the people will put in some time to bring up their skill points. I have a decent amount of skill points, and I'm always looking to get more. So that's where I feel like the topic falls on that one. He feels the raids are going way too long. Last I played was maybe March, and just doing the Olympus stuff. I think you could like power through a raid really quick with the AMs in about 10, 11, 12 minutes. I did Olympus the other day, and like I said, I did have a bunch of gear, finished third in DPS, and we got through it, I think at 12 something, so maybe about a minute and a half, 2 minutes slower than before. So at level or right below level, I still felt like it was good. I ran Guam about the same, I felt, and then I ran the new raids, finishing them in a timely manner. So I even went back and ran, like I said, like a bunch of old raids by myself with a friend that had lower skill points. I even brought a healer with me because everybody said it was going to be hard. Didn't even need a healer. He just stood around, didn't even do anything. The whole time in there, didn't even do anything. And you could see the difference in stats between my friends when we did older raids. But I mean, that's a given. If he has 185 skill points and I have close to 300, I'm going to do better numbers to him. Plus, I had higher gear. So you can see the stats did make a difference. Even with the healer not healing, and him being lower, a lot lower, and then gear and stats and mods and everything, didn't need to be healed either. And we tested almost all the raids you could walk into all the way to T5. So, alright, so Mr. Tariff here, he's upset basically because he feels like his stats should matter like way higher. Like if you only got 100 skill points and I got 300 skill points, I should be doing a lot more. But you got to remember, skill points are only 25% of it, and there's a reason for that. I mean, not everyone does have time to get skill points, or not everyone can get into a good group to get some of this higher end skill points. And plus, you have to have a nice starting base. You can't just have people who are coming into the game now and you're hitting like you can one shot like everything and they can't do anything, or people's not going to know how to play the game or the mechanics of the raid. You can go back and help people. Like I said, I ran all the old raids, had no problems, so you could pretty much like do it. It just takes a little bit if you want to do it by yourself, or if you want to carry a group. Like you can guarantee make sure you get them through it. It just takes a minute. But you can't just like, oh, I have so many more skill points, so I should hit so much harder than you. It's all about the balance. You're gonna hit harder, you're gonna do more damage if you're modded. You have more skill points. It's not about you trying to be dominant over someone. It's about balancing the game. You gotta remember, the game's supposed to be challenging. It's supposed to be difficult at times, but it's also a game supposed to be fun. So we're not trying to blow people out of the water at first. You know what I'm saying? Find a loadout that works for you. Do your damage. Be happy. Play the game. And for someone who's got 100 less skill points, I'm gonna probably out damage him. But at the same time, if it's like, if he's sort of close, you know, kudos to him. You know, you get a couple skill points, you can pass me or be equal to me. You know, it's a community. We need to work together. It's not about who can dominate who. It's not about, oh, I have more skill points, so you should not even come close to me. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about playing the game to the best of your ability and helping the people around you, being a good community. Okay, what I feel like you don't understand what your comment is. This game has had max exodus before. I think it was game update 37 when they changed some things. Weapon mastery made a lot of people walk away from the game. AMs made a lot of people who had worked on skill points walk away from the game. It has lost groups of people in bunches before. There are major changes that people didn't like, and it just grows back in population. Even I've walked away from the game before, not liking the way it went. I didn't think I would come back after testing the stat revamps on tests, and they brought out the time capsules. I'm not a huge fan of the time capsules at all. I don't think you should ever have money attached to feats, skill points, or anything like that, because it's too close to pay to win. It is pay to win, so I'm not a big fan of that. So I think I'd come back with the direction the game's going. I am testing a revamp. I think I'm going to stick around for a minute. Still not a fan though of the time capsules, but having said that, like a big portion of the game can walk away, and you're wrong. Most games are actually supported by about 5% of the people. You can look it up. I think they're called whales. Just people spend money after money after money on the game, and they support the game. A lot of people come in, play the game. It is a free-to-play game, and spend $5 here, $2 there. Some people just drop thousands, and that's enough to equal like a lot of different people. So on that aspect, he's wrong. I also feel like he's wrong about the tier 3 content, because like I said, we went back, we tested every raid of the tier 5, and we had no problem running it solo, double, triple. We brought healers in the raids we didn't even need, so anything we could walk in, we could do. I couldn't finish Nexus by myself, because you gotta have someone for the other corridor, but other than that, like, it was fine. Yeah, the content I think is pretty straight. He must, like I said, a lot of people I think who are struggling or not modded right, because of what that guy says he's got in Garrett's skill points. He shouldn't really be struggling, especially in that tier raid. You should be able to carry other people through it as well, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. At least that's what my test has said for me going through it. So I don't know, maybe he's just unhappy that he can't just go through a one shot everything. But you gotta remember, these raids are intended for more than one person. It's like if you go to another tier, lower tier, and you do a solo, it's kind of easy. Then you go to a solo, and let's say a tier 4. It's going to be slightly harder than a tier 4 solo, just based off the fact it was meant for 2 people. And then if you go into alert, it's meant for 4 people. So even though it's still lower tier, it's still jacked up from a tier 4 solo or tier 4 duo, because there's 4 people in there. The raids are the same way. It's not made for one person. It's not made for you to solo. I'm not saying you can solo. It's just not made for that. It's made for group content. It's made for 8 people to go in there and do it. This is good though for people who are coming up, who need to learn the game and go in there. Like, you could power them through it, but they can also learn some of the mechanics. They can also learn some of the game as they come up. So people just ain't power leveling, getting to the end of the game, and like, oh, that's probably why some people are struggling now that you see on the forums. It's because they never learned how to do the mechanics. They didn't have to. People power through it by one shots, doing the AMs the last couple of years. They never had to like grind through Prime back in the day. They didn't have to it was tough back in the day. FOSs, like it took like weeks, to build up your gear, to go in there and get strong enough. I spent hours and hours trying to beat FOS 1, 2, and 3. I made a lot of friends from doing that. A lot of people still play the games. A lot of people don't. I play other games with some of the people I met back in there, because you build something, trying to beat this boss hour after hour after hour. And I see people on the forums complaining like, oh, this raid takes longer than 15 minutes. Man, back in the day, you couldn't even beat some of the raids. It took me a long time to beat Prime, and I'm a pretty respectable player. I was one of the first people that I knew back in the day who could solo heal Paradox, back when it was really tough. And people would glitch it. That's the only way they could beat it. And I used to solo heal it just straight up. It's funny how I see people like, oh, the raid takes an extra few minutes, or it shouldn't take longer than 15 minutes. Man, there was raids when they used to come out, like you couldn't beat them. You just couldn't beat them. You had to gear up first. Like, it's a little different now, but it's definitely still made for casuals. Like, people who are like saying all this stuff, like, it's still funny to me, because like you could beat the other raid that came out with it was Gates at the time that came out with Prime, but like it took me like forever to be able to beat Prime, like a long time. It was more about like you felt more powerful, because when you finally beat it, you finally geared up, you finally got strong enough to go in there and beat it. So you felt more powerful. It wasn't like, oh, I feel more powerful because I can go into a tier 1 raid, and that's how I feel more powerful, because now I can one-shot these guys. It was about the leveling up process. Now I can beat this content. Now I understand, what's going on in the fight, and I can last long enough, and I'm strong enough to be able to do it. A lot of LFGs couldn't beat a lot of the raids when they first came out. Nexus, Prime, FOSs, like you had to form a league or form a good friend. Like it took a lot of time and a lot of effort to beat these sort of raids, and there was some accomplishment to that. And I feel like now it's like, oh, I can't beat the raid in like 5 minutes, and yeah, you're not supposed to be able to. So I'm glad they're bringing some of the challenge back, and this is setting up for some of the tools of people to be able to do the mechanics, to battle as a team. some feats you're not going to be able to get. You know, it's only going to be for high-end players. So what? It's okay if I can get it. You know, but it brings challenge, and it makes me excited that they're going to do it. Whether they pull it off or not, I don't know. But I feel like the stat revamps is the step in the right direction to bring what I feel is the glory years back to Origin Crisis and below. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. You can tweet me at Kelly Cares, or you know. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and until the next time, peace out.